even when you're not feeling it, even when you're having one of those days, to get up, put on something nice that makes you feel like it flatters you, makes you feel good about yourself, and put on some makeup, right? Put on
Right.
things that accentuate your features. So, talking about that, what are some of the biggest, let's just go there. What are some of the biggest mistakes women make by what they're doing as far as what products they're using or what they're not accentuating versus what they should be?
Yeah, that's great. I think the biggest thing that most women do is we are still doing our makeup like we did in our 20s and 30s. And so when we hit our 40s, 50s, 60s, we just give up on makeup because we're like, it's just not working anymore. So the natural progression that I see a lot is like women are just like, makeup doesn't work for me. I'm just giving up, like, instead of adjusting and changing some of the products that we're using. So big things that I talk about is less is more. As we age, we don't need as much makeup because our skin texture is changing. We have more pores. Our pores are larger. And so biggest things I would say is like, obviously black eyeliner is a big one. You can still wear black eyeliner. You can still wear black eyeliner, but it's just little tweaks. And I have a ton of ideas on my page of how to do that. But like, it's like the heaviness that we used to do. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I was in my 20s, I have lots of pictures where it was very, very heavy makeup because that's like what, I don't know, that's what we did. We used the MAC foundations or the really, heavy formulas. And if you do that now, your skin is going to be very textured. You're going to see a lot of fine lines and wrinkles that we didn't have in our 20s. And so, first of all, I think foundation is really key. So I personally love cream foundation for mature skin. Skin tints are great, BB creams, something that's a little bit lighter where you can use a more dense brush if you want more coverage. So the brush is going to be what actually gives you the coverage versus like what you're using. So a lot of women will stay with like a matte foundation when they age, but they don't like how it looks because now you look more dry, you look textured, wrinkles. So it's using a denser brush versus like the actual product you're using. Creams I love because they sit like a second layer of skin. So they absorb into the skin. So it's moving with your skin. And that's the problem with most makeup. It doesn't move with your skin. So as we age, because we have more texture, it's not moving with your skin. You have that textury look on the skin. So foundation, definitely.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Life After Kids with Doctors Brooke and Lynn. I'm Dr. Brooke.
And I'm Dr. Lynn.
Hello, Dr. Lynn.
Hello, Dr. Brooke. We are here this week with a very special guest, Lauren Hale, who, Dr. Brooke, tell us a little bit about Lauren.
Yeah. First of all, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so happy to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
I can't wait to jump into this talk. I want to give you all just a little bit of Lauren's background so you know how amazing she is and why we were so excited to get her on the show. She is a mature skin makeup expert who helps women gain confidence as they age, specializing in teaching makeup techniques that enhance women's natural beauty. I'm so excited about this.
Yes.
Lauren focuses on positive body image, real skin, and teaches women to embrace their individuality. She's also a mom to a teenage daughter and incorporates beginner makeup, friendly tips, and style trends for teens as well. And let's see, she has been featured on Good Morning America, The New York Post, and The Sun for her makeup techniques. She loves empowering women to look and feel their best at any age and to embrace aging with confidence. This is so amazing. Like, thank you, first of all, for doing this work. It's so needed.
You know what? It's seriously, I love serving people, and it's just been such a pleasure to meet so many amazing women through this experience.
Isn't it cool how this is a little off topic, but how you do get to meet so many? We found that too. Like we never would have guessed that would be a perk of starting this business, but like just getting the chance to talk to you. So exciting.
Yeah, it's amazing. When I started, gosh, it's been almost 5 years now on social media. I always just had this belief that you would never find good women. I just never connected with good women in my everyday life. I should say I had some close friends, but not majority of my belief in women was not always the best because I had some bad experiences. And honestly, this has just been something that has changed how I look at women. Like, so many positive women have come into my life, so many uplifting women, empowering women. And it's so cool. Like I never would have thought, like you said, that would have come into my life through just saying yes and starting on social media.
Oh, I love you saying that. And I've had the same issues in my life too. I don't know why. And I hope I
Yeah.
hear
It
that
will.
so much,
Mhm.
but I love you saying that because I hope anybody that's listening will take that and know, like, sometimes you just have to put yourself out there and start the thing, and you never know what's going to come from it. And you could really meet some amazing women along the way. So thank you for
Yeah.
saying that.
You're welcome.
Tell us how you got your start in social media and what made you, on top of that, share about your perimenopause journey. Tell us a little bit about all that.
Yeah, so it's kind of a really funny roller coaster of what happened. But I was a kindergarten teacher, so my background is special education, early childhood, and elementary. And so I taught kindergarten for a very long time as well as special ed. And I have three children, and they're all teens now, but back in the day they were younger. And I stayed at home with them for a long time, and then I decided to go back to work. And in the process of going back to work, I loved teaching. It was so much fun. I think that's just something I've been gifted with, is teaching, which is, the makeup has helped with that too. But when I was working full time, it was just really hard. I was away from my children. My husband's a physician assistant. He was gone all the time. So in the process of teaching, after about 5 years of that, I just kind of started realizing, like, I really wanted to be a mom, and I didn't have the flexibility I wanted. I grew up in the generation where, like, YouTube was really big. And so I would watch, like, tutorials of, like, the dupes of makeup and, like, how women would do, like, makeup tips and tricks back in the day, right? That's really all I had growing up. And so I would invite my friends over, and I would, like, hey, can I try this makeup tip or try this technique on you? And then I would do the dupes and all the things. So I've always loved makeup. And I kind of fell into the social selling world actually in the very beginning, and started on social media just talking about makeup that way. And as that's evolved, I just kind of changed my page that way. So I was like 39 when I started on social media. I'm 44 now. And I realized as I kept showing up that there wasn't a lot of women represented in the mature skin category back in the day. I am excited because there's so many more out there now. But, like, also, you didn't see real skin. You were seeing a lot of filters. I started with filters. I believe that's what everybody was doing, right? But I realized, like, I didn't feel like our age was being really represented. And I don't know about you guys, but, like, makeup doesn't lay the same as it used to in your 20s and 30s. So you're watching these 20 and 30-year-olds and you're like, well, but mine's not doing that. What's wrong with my skin? So I remember, like, trying to, change my skin and do all these, and I'd spend all this money on makeup products and nothing was working because no one was really represented in our age group. And so I just started one day just talking about, like, listen, I'm 40. Like, let's talk real. Let's talk about, like, what really works, what doesn't. Here's what I've tried. Here's what's not working. And it's kind of evolved since then. And then throughout that part of sharing and really connecting with women, my account started growing. And about 2 years ago, I hit 42 and I started getting into perimenopause, which I didn't know was going on with me. And so all of a sudden I felt depressed and anxious and just, like, not myself. And I didn't know what was wrong. And also my son is a senior this year in high school. So I had a lot of, like, which is how I found you guys. Because I was
Welcome.
like, yes, I was like, I needed you because I was in this new stage of life. And I'm
Each
like,
other.
yeah,
Right.
right. And I just was like, what is happening to me? Like, what is going on? I do not feel like myself. And so, anyways, one day I just decided to just be really vulnerable. I hadn't been vulnerable up to that point. I'd just been showing makeup tips. And I just said, like, you're POV, you're in perimenopause, you are in this next chapter of life with your kids growing up, and no one prepares you or talks about it. And it blew up. And I realized, like, for my account, especially, like, I needed to start talking about what I was going through because I felt very alone and none of my friends were going through it. So I felt even more alone and I thought, what's wrong with me? And so once I started talking about that, a lot of women felt that way. And it was such a great way to make connections with other women, but also to remind them, like, what you're going through, you will find your spark again. You just have to keep going. And, like, so that's kind of what I've changed a lot in my page.
That's great. We talk a lot about, there's a whole lot to unpack with menopause, right? And if you're listening and you can relate to Lauren, you've got some great things on your page, and there are a lot of actions you can take. But we talk a lot about acting as if, and I feel like it's so important, even when you're not, and we were just talking about this on our live podcast that we do, even when you're not feeling it, even when you're having one of those days, to get up, put on something nice that makes you feel like it flatters you, makes you feel good about yourself, and put on some makeup, right? Put on
Right.
things that accentuate your features. So, talking about that, what are some of the biggest, let's just go there. What are some of the biggest mistakes women make by what they're doing as far as what products they're using or what they're not accentuating versus what they should be?
Yeah, that's great. I think the biggest thing that most women do is we are still doing our makeup like we did in our 20s and 30s. And so when we hit our 40s, 50s, 60s, we just give up on makeup because we're like, it's just not working anymore. So the natural progression that I see a lot is like women are just like, makeup doesn't work for me. I'm just giving up. Like instead of adjusting and changing some of the products that we're using. So big things that I talk about is less is more. As we age, we don't need as much makeup because our skin texture is changing. We have more pores. Our pores are larger. And so biggest things I would say is like, obviously black eyeliner is a big one. You can still wear black eyeliner. You can still wear black eyeliner, but it's just little tweaks. And I have a ton of ideas on my page of how to do that. But like, it's like the heaviness that we used to do. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I was in my 20s, I have lots of pictures where it was very, very heavy makeup because that's like what, I don't know, that's what we did. We used the MAC foundations or the really, heavy formulas. And if you do that now, your skin is going to be very textured. You're going to see a lot of fine lines and wrinkles that we didn't have in our 20s. And so, first of all, I think foundation is really key. So, I personally love cream foundation for mature skin. Skin tints are great, BB creams, something that's a little bit lighter where you can use a more dense brush if you want more coverage. So, the brush is going to be what actually gives you the coverage versus like what you're using. So a lot of women will stay with like a matte foundation when they age, but they don't like how it looks because now you look more dry, you look textured, wrinkles. So it's using a denser brush versus like the actual product you're using. Creams I love because they sit like a second layer of skin. So they absorb into the skin. So it's moving with your skin. And that's the problem with most makeup. It doesn't move with your skin. So as we age, because we have more texture, it's not moving with your skin. You have that textury look on the skin. So foundation, definitely, I think there's a lot of really great formulas. I think that the market now, beauty market and beauty industry is starting to market more to mature skin. So you are finding a lot more good liquid foundations. I'm just personally not a fan. So it really is what you like with that. So black eyeliner, foundation, placement is huge. So really, I'm not a big fan of powders. Another reason powders is texture. So once again, a cream is a great alternative for like blush or bronzer. But getting your placement correct can actually add lift to the face. So it also is like using your own face as a roadmap too, because we tend to hollow in this area here and here. We lose the fullness in the cheeks, fullness in the temples. Some of us aren't. Like I still have fullness in my cheeks. So for me, a lift is great. But if you're losing the fullness here, adding in like a blush on the apples of the cheeks actually does give you more fullness to the face. So a lot of the things that I do on my page are for lift, but I also try to show like, hey, like you have to use your face. That's the thing with all of us out there that are doing beauty content. We're working on ourselves, but like your face is not going to be the same as mine. So really identifying what are you trying to achieve with your makeup, I think is really key as you age.
I love that. You know what's so funny that you say that, because when I was younger, I was kind of like hippie, like, I thought I was too cool for makeup. Like I was one of those girls that had a nose ring and I just was in my like bell bottoms and toured with Fish, whatever. It was a whole thing. And I was like, thought I was like not being cool, but also being like the worst type of trying to be cool. Anyway, so then I started like, just like in the last several years, like maybe I should start using foundation. And I found that's exactly what I found. I was like, what am I doing? I don't know what to do with makeup, but for sure I see way more wrinkles now than I did before. And I actually noticed that with concealer too. I always want to use concealer to like cover up my dark circles. But when I use it, all it just accentuates all my little fine lines. So
that's a good point. Okay, so that's something I think we have never been taught. So we always were taught to use a concealer under the eyes, right? And a concealer, if you think of like an artist, right? An artist palette. If you're using a dark color, it's going to pull back. It's going to recede. If you're using a brighter color, like a concealer, it's going to pop anything that you put that bright color on forward. So under the eyes, we don't want to be exposing all of that texture, right? But what are we doing? We're putting a ton of that light color under the eyes, which is immediately pushing everything forward. You're seeing everything you don't want to see. So with your under eyes, what I always try to talk about is using a color corrector. And that's something that's now starting to be talked about more. But the biggest thing that people are doing when they're using concealer, they're trying to cover up the discoloration. Concealer is not meant to do that. It's meant to plump. It's meant to pull forward. So you use that strategically after you color correct. So when I say color correct, I mean, think of a color wheel. Whatever you see underneath the eye, which that is we could talk a whole hour about that because colors are very strange. But like, let's say you have a blue discoloration, you would use something opposite on the color wheel, which would be like peach or coral, to correct that first. And then you go in with just a couple dots, one even, depending on what kind of concealer you're using, to brighten and plump that area. And then also you can go into a brush using a smaller brush versus a larger brush. You apply less product. So the less amount of product you can apply by using a color corrector, you won't see that.
That is really, I'm glad you talk about that because that's something I learned either on your page or somewhere else, but it's like a very pinky. So I must have those blue undertones. And I've learned it's very, like I love your discussion around using creams versus powder for mature skin, right? Because, and it makes so much sense. The powder is just going to like suck to all the wrinkles and just show that up. Whereas the cream kind of just keeps everything looking moist and nourished, right? Hydrated. But I use this color corrector, I guess. I didn't know the name of the product, and it's pinky. And it just blends with my skin versus, my daughter has a friend, and anytime you see a picture, it's like, all you can see is her eyes. And it's like that whole raccoon effect.
Yeah.
And then now I think I learned it from you is you just use like a little concealer to cover almost like the eye. The eye makeup. So just making sure that you don't get the eyeshadow dropping down. That being said, let's talk eyes because that is my, I think I'm okay with the concealer and I'm with you up there, but when it comes to my eyes, I'm so lost. And I think I'm like a lot of women where you sort of are starting to see the hood, right?
Yeah,
So what
it's
do we
very
do?
normal. So some people are born with hooded eyes, and hooded eyes, let's just like put that out there because a lot of people don't understand hooded eyes. Basically, the easiest way to tell if you have hooded eyes, if you were looking straight at a mirror, you can't see your lid space. So there's different variations of hooded eyes.
Oh no.
For the most part, you can't see the lid space. And as you get more mature, the hood at the kind of around your brow bone kind of starts coming down. Gravity takes a toll, right? Everything starts coming down. And so as we age, the less lid space also can occur. So I have very deep set eyes, but as I'm aging, I'm getting less of a lid space. Very typical, very normal, but then it's like, how do we deal with this new changing eye? So biggest, easiest tips I can explain is one, it's color choices, like not going too dark like we used to. You can still do a smoky eye, but you can do it in a different variation. But also like when you're applying your eyeshadow, make sure you're not closing your eyes. So you want to look straight into a mirror and you want to apply it above where your natural crease is. Because if you're doing that, one, you're going to be able to see the product. But if you close your eyes and you apply it where your crease is, like most of us do, and then you open your eye, if you have hooded eyes, you're never going to see that product. And that's the number one reason people quit wearing eyeshadow because they're like, I can't see the product. Why am I wearing it? Well, it's because you have to make a new crease. The other really, really big key that I don't see a lot of people talking about with hooded eyes and more mature eyes is using a smaller eyeshadow brush. So not all eyeshadow brushes are created equal, but if we go in with a larger eyeshadow brush, which is very typical sized eyeshadow brush, it's too large because we don't have the lid real estate that we used to have. So a lot of companies make smaller brushes for hooded eyes, and I always suggest using a smaller brush. That will make your blending easier. That will make the placement easier. Your brushes are so key, and I don't think that's talked about enough, but it'll be a game changer. So really using like a medium toned shade is really great. If you're like browns, neutrals, like a medium warmer tone is great for making a new crease. And then just applying a nice little shimmer. You don't have to have a glittery shimmer. Don't look for a glittery shimmer like we could have worn in our 20s. It's more of like a micro shimmer. So a micro shimmer would be like if you were to take a shimmer and put it on your finger, it doesn't look like chunks of glitter, right? People are like, I hate glitter, or I hate, shimmery eyeshadow. It has fallout. The reason it has fallout is it's too big of like a shimmer if you know what I'm talking about, like the particles of that. So looking for a micro shimmer, using your finger to press it on the lids because we don't have the real estate for a brush. So there's just all these like little tips and tricks that you can do to tweak things so that you'll love to start wearing eyeshadow again. And you'll start seeing, you know, that, oh, I can wear it. So it's really fun because I get a lot of DMs from women that are like, I haven't worn eyeshadow in years. I just tried a couple of your tips and I like love it. My husband noticed and I'm like, I love that, you know, because it's so cool that just like little placement tips can really change a lot. Eyeliner is another thing too, like going for a nice brown, like just kind of change that out. If you have smaller eyes, if you have hooded eyes, you know, going into the, not into the waterline, but tight lining can also help because if you have eyeliner on no lid space, if you've tried that, you know, it's really hard and you're fighting texture and different things like that. So that's another little thing you could do. I've got lots of tips though.
Okay,
Wait.
you just said tight. Were you going to ask that too, Brooke?
I don't know what waterline is.
Yeah.
I'm really
tight
like,
lining.
really,
Okay.
I mean, listen, the first time I ever was in Sephora, no joke, is this last December.
Oh, okay.
I've never
Okay.
even
I'll break
like,
it
so
down.
talk to us like you're talking to two dummies, or at least one dummy, one makeup dummy you have on the call.
You're not. It's like, but it's funny because a lot of people don't understand tight line. In fact, I've done videos and people get really mad and they're like, my eye doctor says don't do it. Listen, it's because you're going on the waterline. So there's two different things. Okay. So there's the waterline of your eye and then there's tight lining. Tight lining is if I was to pull back my eye, like my eyelashes, it's basically taking your eyeliner and you're coloring in between your lashes. You're not actually on that waterline. Yes, but you don't want to be on the waterline. The waterline one is going to smudge. It's going to go to your bottom lash. It's not good for your eyes. So it's basically like you're coloring in between the lashes because as we age, our lashes get lighter. They get, you know, less thick. So all you're doing is creating that dimension to the lash versus going on the waterline. I want to keep saying that because a lot of people think waterline when I say tight line. Totally not where you're going.
So you're just, so the water line is a little closer to the, like the
actual eye.
the
The eye itself.
Got
Yep.
it. And the tight line would be
Like
on
a-
the lid still, but
Yes.
under the, in between.
In
Almost.
between, because the water line, you'll see like a white line under your eye. If you were to pull your eyelashes back, you'll see that white line. That's your water line. And most people are like, well, when I tight line, it smudges to the bottom or it's a big mess. Well, that's because that's a watery area. Like you don't want to put anything there. So you're actually, you're just in between those little lashes. So
That's such a great tip.
Yeah.
That's such a great, okay. One more question on the eyes and then
Right.
Dr. if you have a question, I know you want to talk about bronzer, but okay. Are we not doing the dark corner in the, eyeshadow because
like that we used to do.
the hooded eyes, it just all blends and you think you're doing this amazing thing. And then it's like, no.
And then you actually look at it.
And you close your eyes, you're like,
You know,
15 minutes on that.
yeah, there is ways to do it. I think it is hard. That's why I think that medium. I always think like keep it simple, right? Especially if we're new to makeup, keep it simple. 2 colors. So literally like think of an eyeshadow palette. Inside that eyeshadow palette are lots of options, but picking a medium doesn't matter any tone. Like if you like pinks, if you like purples, a medium, and then either a light matte color that's not like super light. I don't want you to go like a white or something, but like I'll use purple. Like find a medium shade purple and then like 1 to 2 shades lighter than that purple that's either a shimmer or a matte, and that goes on the lid. So you're adding most of your products. So when you put that medium shade on, I always start like on the outer corner because I want most of my product to be on the outer corner. And then I'm going to blend, instead of a rainbow motion, which we were taught, little small circles, just like that. I wish I could I don't know. Are they going to see what I'm doing? Because
They will on YouTube. If you want to see what she's doing, go to YouTube. If you're starting to listen.
Show you and talk, I don't know.
Mhm.
Anyways, but just keeping that on the outer corner so that when you do bring that medium shade in, you don't have that full pigment either. Mm-hmm. And that also, one more little tip with that is when you go into your eyeshadow palette, most people take their brush and they just go in it. Then they're like putting it all over. Okay, like no. It's just
like a 3-year-old finger painting.
You know, I've done it right. Like just, no, it's just like a little tap and then apply and then build the color. Instead of, we all have been in the situation where we put way too much on and then we're like, oh man, this is a mess to take off. So it's just start with a little build and it's all in the blending. So 2 colors. It's really like how I would start most people.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, one last thing because we're exhausting the eyes, but with eyeliner, top and bottom, like top of lid, bottom lid, or one or the other, or
So, okay, I have lots of thoughts on that.
yeah.
So, top, I do like top, but if you have a lot of texture or hooded eyes, I do like the tight lighting method. If you still have a hard time with that, I like to have like just a small wing on the
Yep.
outer corner. A baby wing, I call it like an extra eyelash. You're not bringing the wing up to the eyebrow or anything like that. And then I like a softer look. So like I'll take an eyeshadow on like a little smudgy brush, kind of like think of like an end of a pencil.
Yep.
And I would bring that just under. Now I don't bring it past the pupil of the eye. So it's like a fourth of the way under, because all that's going to do is just lift and open. If we bring it all the way under, depending on your eye shape, it can close off the eye. So you can use liner if you want, but I don't like to go past a fourth of the way. So I keep it on that outer edge of the eye, or do it with shadow. And if you do it with eyeshadow, a lot of people have a hard time with that, like kind of moving. So spray your brush with some setting spray. So you dip it into the eyeshadow, spray your brush with setting spray, and then kind of tap that under the eye. And that's going to keep it there for the day.
Amazing. Wow, you're really good. This is a great conversation.
Yeah. Well, and we've all seen that little wing. And I mean, I think it does help us, right, as mature women, because it gives that, like you said, sense of lift.
Yeah, the lift.
But it is not easy to do.
No,
You got to
it's not
practice
easy.
it. I did find a little angled brush that I've been using now, and I dip it into water so that it's very wet. So like you said, it doesn't just powder all over.
Mm-hmm.
And then I find that the angle of that brush has just been helping, because if you try to do it with eyeshadow, I mean, you have to be an expert, really.
Yeah, and an angled brush is great, and they actually have a lot of small angled brushes, which I also think is really key, because you can get it too thick and then it's like a mess. And then following the natural shape of your upper lid is also really key, so you can just kind of like almost like stamp it. I always start at the edge of the eye, and I do think like either you can use setting spray or water like you have, because that's a great idea. And then just stamping it on the outer corner of the eye. That's really all you have to do. I mean, you watch a lot of intricate videos with wings, and you're going to make a mess. I mean, really, it's just a stamp. And then a little mascara, and you can trick anyone with that. So
that's great. I'm the one that makes the mess. That's great. Okay, before we move off the topic of makeup, because we're chatting so much, and I have a lot of other stuff I want to get to, or we have a lot of other stuff we want to get to. Just give us a brief rundown. So I was just watching the other day, like this whole, you put the blush a certain spot and a bronzer a certain spot and like a highlighter, and one goes on the jawline, one under, or like on the sides of the nose. I don't know what's happening there. Do you have any simple tips for that?
You're so cute.
I got a little lost too. No, just kidding. So I'm not sure what video that is, but there's a lot of videos I do that show just like
it was like an ad for something.
Was it an ad? Okay, because I was like, I don't know if I've done that video.
No, it wasn't. It was an ad that I got sucked into.
I know. I've seen the same one, and by the time she's done, it's like war paint all over before she.
Oh, like the line, like all over. Yeah, I don't suggest doing that. I mean, listen, I say this a lot. I say this a lot in my live videos, because what I do a lot of like really fast videos, but then I actually slow them down in lives on my page because people can't follow that. But listen, if you're maturing skin and you're drawing your makeup on, it's really hard, one, to blend out. A lot of us have dry skin. You're just gonna have a big mess because it's not gonna like blend like you want it. The reason you see that is it's clickbait, right? So if you're watching social media and you're seeing all the lines, listen, it's clickbait. Like, we're just trying to get you to watch. Not how I wouldn't have a client come into my beauty room and have them like draw lines all over. I just wouldn't do that, right? No makeup artist would do that. So it's clickbait. So I just always like to say that, like, listen, they're just trying to get you to watch. But there is placement and there is value to it, because to teach that, to draw a line is easier for you to see than me to just have it on my brush, put it on the back of my hand, and then tap it out, right? So there's value to that. So when you watch a video like that, it really is, that's clickbait. But there is reasons where they're putting their contour or their bronzer or their I call it a highlighter or concealer, either one you can use that for. But like, for example, with contour, I'll try to break down what you said. Tell me if I get off topic. But
you're good.
But with contour, we used to make a fish face and we'd put that contour way too low. And all that does is gravity's coming down. Our faces are coming down. So we don't want to do that. So we want to find that high prominent point of the cheekbone. And you can feel that really easily because your cheekbone rounds and it's right on that rounded part. And for most people, it lines up with the edge of their ear or somewhere along that. And that's where we want to place that contour. And then when you blend upwards. So you're getting that lift. That's as simple as contour needs to be. Contour doesn't need to be crazy. It doesn't, I always say it's like paint by number because really that's all you're doing is you're just placing and then you're just blending. So contour is really easy. Contour you don't even need. If you're not trying to lift or recede an area, you don't need all this stuff. And that's the other thing I tell people all the time. Like you have to look at your face and say, what are my goals for my face versus just like doing what you see people do. So that's contour. Bronzer and blush are married. We say it's like they're married. So I like to put on bronzer. So like if this is my contour on the prominent part of the cheekbone, bronzer is just married to the contour, like contour's here, bronzer's right here, you blend together. It's not a line. It just looks like a shadow with some warmth because bronzer is going to give you warmth. Contour is going to give you a shadow. They do two different things. Contour's ashy, bronzer's warm. And then the blush just goes right on top and it just gives you that nice married look. So when you look at someone's face, you don't want to see like all the different colors. You actually want to see like some depth and dimension. So I always think of it like you're painting a picture. When you look at skin after you put makeup on, it should still look like your face without makeup because your face has dimension to it. We don't have lines, like these harsh lines like you see. It should just look very natural and very just blended and melded together, if that makes sense.
That's great.
Hopefully I answered you on that.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. And now I know that it is clickbait because I almost bought 3 products for like several $100s that I didn't even need.
Talking about, and I've almost bought that same thing. I have the same products.
I don't know what you're talking about now. Maybe you know they've heard us, and so it's going to come on my phone.
Yeah. Well, we can talk off recording. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I can let you know who we're talking about later. Anyway, that's amazing. That's such good, like practical advice. Like, and honestly, like it goes for us so far beyond just a makeup talk because Lynn and I talk about this all the time. Like when you look better, you feel better. You just do. Like, and in this phase of life, like we focus on, for us, it's like purpose, stress management, emotional health, physical health, and then like what are you doing to take care of how you look in your immediate environment, because how you look reflects on your emotional health and your physical environment reflects on how focused you are and how cluttered your brain is. So thank you for the work you're doing for women like us. It's huge. Really. So if you could give women over 40 one tip on aging, what would that one like most important tip be?
Oh, that's a good question. I think for me, gosh, one tip is really hard. I feel like for me, I had a really hard time accepting that I was aging. That was really hard for me. I don't know what 40 was for me, but it was a big number. And I think for a lot of women it is. And so I think I try to focus on a word a year. And for me, it was embrace. And honestly, when I just got to a point where I was like, embrace, like you've matured, you have come so far, you have conquered so many things in your life, like embrace that. And so when I finally just embraced aging and realized like, it's just a number, like for some reason in society, 40 is like, you're dead. I don't know. Like it's just like this crazy thing. I feel like not so much anymore. But when I felt like I hit 40, I felt like I would get comments all the time, you know, like you're so old. You look old. Like once I hit 40. And then that validated, you know, what I felt like the world was telling me. But when I finally realized like it's just a number, and actually I'm more happy in my aging 40s than I ever have been, like just embrace it. And I think once you embrace it and you realize it's just a number, and like be proud of yourself for how far you come, because it really is a gift. A lot of people don't even get to live to be where you're at. Like it's such a gift. And so I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question, but I think just embracing it really does help.
That's great. We talk a lot about reframing often. It's like, because you can really focus on what you've lost, right? In your 30s and 20s, and especially from the aesthetic side of things, right? Skin and all of that. We won't go there. But instead of spending time there, what can you reframe and look at like our wisdom and like the flexibility that we've earned at this stage in our life? Many of us are through that, like deep grind that we had to do through our careers, and
Mm-hmm.
all of the good things, like reframing to think about what we are gaining versus what we're
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with that. And it's just perspective, right? Just, it really is just, like you said, it's reframing your mindset. I mean, I've worked really hard on that in the last just even 4 years, just to reframe my mindset. And I think that's just, it's so powerful.
It is. Yeah, thank you for that. And that word embrace is perfect. It's a perfect word to use for that, honestly, and reminding yourself of that constantly. And it is true, when you're trying to reframe or change your mindset, it's work. Like, it's not something you just do once in a while. It's like you have to do it constantly until it becomes a habit, until you've really changed things. So that's hard.
It is hard.
Yeah, and we're both, I mean, I'm just reaching it on the other end of when you're almost at 50, then you really have to start to embracing.
low.
Well, I didn't want to throw you under the bus, and you are 50. Happy birthday to you again.
Happy birthday.
Oh, yes.
3 months later.
We're celebrating. No, it's good.
Yeah. It's a celebration. We're embracing life.
Yeah, embracing.
Okay. Tell us, so we've seen reels of you with your daughter, right? Your teenage daughter, which I think is just so cool that you've involved her. And by the way, she's adorable.
Thank you.
But I just wanted you to maybe talk a little bit about like how, if it's changed your relationship in any way, like bringing her in on some of those things. And also, like, have you seen, what do you think it will do for her just watching her mom build a business like you have, right? Because we always talk about how our kids learn more by watching what we do than what we say. So I just thought maybe you could unpack that a little bit for us, or give us your perspective.
Yeah, so Ash, it's funny. I've looked back at videos, I started doing this, like I said, when I was like 39. And so I didn't even know what I was doing. And she's 16 now. So she was like 10, 11 when I started. And even back then, it was like we were just playing with makeup together, and it was always fun. And I mean, my mom was always someone that was really into makeup. I didn't wear makeup till I was like 25. So I just was never. And it was like my mom was always like, could you please just wear some makeup? And I never did. So I got lucky that my daughter likes to do that with me. And then, gosh, it was just a couple of years later from there that she was a teen, and she was interested. She wanted to be in my videos. And so we started doing like teen makeup tips for other moms, because I had a lot of followers that had, girls that age. And so she started, getting the confidence to get on camera. And it's just fun to watch her, because she is opposite of me growing up. She's very confident. She's very fearless. And I love that about her, because I've kind of made it my life's mission for her not to grow up insecure, because I was. And so I've always just empowered her to be who she is and never like compromise for that. So I think even showing up on social media just kind of like taught her like, hey, like I'm proud of myself. Like I can teach people this. And so it's been really fun to watch her. She's a big athlete too. So like, I think even just watching her mindset from the soccer field coming on to social media, she has that confidence that I never had. So I'm really proud of her for that. We've always been besties. Like she's just I have 2 boys, and then she's my middle. So she's like always been my bestie. So it's always just kind of been fun. We do lives together and just different things, but she actually just started a social media account herself. She turned 16, and she said, Mom, can I do it? And I was like, totally. Like I obviously monitor her account and all the things, but watching her, it's crazy. You don't realize how much your children are watching you. She posts every day. She shows up, posts up. She has ideas every single day of what she's going to do. She does get ready with me's. It's just crazy. And she's tagging brands. Like she does it. I've never told her to do these things. She's like, Mom, I need to go on to Like to Know It, and I need to make a link for this. And I'm like, how do you know all this? So it's just really fun to watch her like be an entrepreneur a little bit, like try to start doing that, and just allowing her to be her own individual person. And so it's been really cool. And it makes me happy that like my biggest thing with my kids is that they can do anything. Like there is no dream too big. And so it's been really cool to just watch her like kind of exploring things that she's interested in, but like not give up. Because as her accounts, obviously it's not growing huge or anything like that, but she doesn't give up. And so that tenacity is really cool to watch too. So your kids are watching you. And so it's really fun. I just feel like, just my journey of her watching me from a young girl to now, knowing that she's going to do bigger things than me, which is really, really cool. Yeah.
So awesome. I love that's a perfect testament to the kids are watching everything we do. And I think that the best way to, instill in your kids to chase their own dreams is to have them watch you chasing your dreams,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not give up and be tenacious and all the things that you said. So well done, Mama.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
awesome.
I'm proud of her.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome share. Love it.
Okay, so let's talk about something really fun, which is you've got a book coming out.
Yeah.
Is it out already? Tell us tell us all the things. Oh, look at that. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I just got my author copies. It launches February 18th. So I'll send you guys a copy. But it's a really good segue into what you guys were just talking about, because the book is called Girl, Put on Your Lipstick, The World Needs You. It's a guide to living unapologetically and authentically you in your 40s and beyond. And it really is almost everything we've talked about here today is like coming into your own, realizing like you can do whatever you want. So I kind of just, it's kind of like a memoir in a way of like what I've done and how I've kind of created what I've created, but also like teaching women how to actually do that. I think we get, like we're saying, like we get in our 40s or 50s or 60s and we're like, okay, life's over. I'm just going to just keep going with like what I've been doing, that ho-hum life that I'm really not finding much joy in. But like teaching women that you don't have to be stuck. Like you don't have to be stuck in a situation. You can find your joy again. Here's how to do it. So I really break it down into action steps, baby steps, how I've done it. I go from like talking about like traumas that I've experienced from a young age, how they've affected me, but actually they're blessings in disguise, because through that hard we grow. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. And I just hope it really serves women. So.
Oh, it's so good. And the cover is gorgeous.
The cover's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
I can't wait to read it. You definitely have to send us a copy. Now let us know. So we're filming this a little bit in advance, but when this airs, it will be out if it's out February 18th. So where can we find it on Amazon? Where are we going to be? Where can we get it?
So it's basically all over the world. It's anywhere online: Amazon, Target, Walmart, Barnes and Noble, indie bookstores.
Awesome.
Exciting.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, we'll put it in our Amazon store, but then when the newsletter goes out, it will be in the news. The link for it, we'll put the Amazon link in the newsletter, and we'll link it in the show notes. So if you guys want to find it specifically, by the time this is live, while you're listening to us, it's out in the world. Hooray. And we'll make sure that if you're in our community, you have easy access to it. So
thank you so much.
So definitely we'll keep an eye out for that. And don't send me a reminder, if you will, just so that it triggers me. All right. We can talk about that.
Okay.
But okay, excellent. So if you don't mind, we would love to just ask you some off the cuff, quick, fun little questions before we wrap.
Let's do it. Okay.
So number one, do you have a favorite tip for stress management or something that you love to do for self-care?
Yeah. 2. Can I give you 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
So a non-negotiable for me is a bath every night. That's like my favorite form of self-care. Yeah. Right. A bubble bath, something where like no one is bugging me. And then my other one is journaling. I'm really big about journaling. I feel like that has helped me through so much in my life. So those are my 2.
It's huge. Yeah. You guys just got this like acrylic bathtub shelf thing that goes across.
I saw that.
I'm like some sort of diva. I've got a little plant on it and a candle and like all the things, but it has up leveled my bath. Like I don't ever want to get out of my bathtub now. My husband walks in like, you're in the bathtub again? Yes, I am.
I need to get that. My husband so he got me a beautiful piece of jewelry earlier in the month, and he's like, anyway, we were shopping and he's like, this is your Valentine's gift. But yesterday we were getting a TMI, but we were getting back. That's sometimes where we catch up. And he goes, can I give you my gift? Can I give you my gift? I'm like, I already got one.
You're like, wait a minute. What is it? We're in the bathtub. Nope, don't want that gift.
You know my husband, and Brooke, you'll appreciate this because he's not been historically so good with the gifts. And he got me a bath pillow, and it's so comfortable.
I want one of those. Yeah.
Oh,
you love it?
I thought I've been like meaning to order myself one. I thought it would just be like, you get the packages of air in your Amazon gift.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's so comfortable. It's like contoured and like.
Ooh, I need a link for this.
Yeah.
Same.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we gotta put that up.
I'm gonna put that up for sure.
Give us a link. I need one, actually. Yeah, because my husband was going to get me one of those actually. And I was like, well, I feel like, are they all made the same? I don't know. So then I went on a rabbit hole, and then I got
You gotta
ADD.
get this one. This one's great.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll share the link to that too. And well done, Mark. That's impressive. So next is give us a tip for parenting older kids. What's one thing you can pass on? That's a hard, like, I think I thought parenting would get easier, and it just gets harder.
It gets
It's
harder.
bigger kids, bigger problems. So
Yes, and my mom told me that from when I was struggling with my kids physically, she's like, you just wait, because it's going to get emotional, and that's way harder. So I always remembered that, and she's so right. But I will say parenting teens is like, it is my favorite thing. I love it so much. I have a almost 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 14-year-old, almost 14-year-old.
Wow.
And it's so fun. I think my biggest piece of advice would be to communicate. We communicate, like, I think it's a running joke, because my husband's always like, you communicate way too much. And I'm like, I know, but listen, they come to me, they tell me things maybe I don't always want to hear, but they're telling me everything, almost everything, I should say. They're not perfect, but they're telling me almost everything, where you're there. Like, they don't get nervous. I always tell my kids, I'm like, listen, you can tell me anything. I might be mad for a minute, but I would rather you tell me than not tell me. And so we, as a family, we communicate very, very well. And I will say, like, my kids love bringing their friends to my house, and we all hang out, because I don't judge. Like, there's not judgment. I think that's a big thing to say too, because they're trying to navigate the world, right? Like, I remember my teen years, it's hard. So they're trying to navigate their world. So I'm really big, and my husband is too, is just being that parent that openly communicates about everything, and probably too much, but
so good.
So far we're okay.
That's a huge win. You're doing something right, like Brooke said. And I think it has to do with seeing them for individuals and not just extensions of us, right? I think that's where we get into trouble, is when we look at them and we forget to see everything that's unique and really cool and different about them, and honoring that and helping them to see that that's how they shine.
Yeah, be their own person. And it's, just with like the 3 kids, they're just all so different. They all are making different choices and going different avenues. And it's really cool. I mean, yeah, I don't want my kids to be like what I did. Like, I already did my thing. That's what my husband and I say. We already did our thing. Like, you go do your thing, and we're here to support you. So yeah.
So good. I love it. Okay. Share with us, if you will, and a favorite read. Maybe you're going to say your book. Definitely say your book, but share another one too, maybe. If you're a reader.
I love my book. I do think it's a great read. I think it's an easy read too. But I've been really into Frida McFadden books lately, thriller books. So that's kind of what I've been reading. Yeah, she's easy to read. She's like very easy, kind of like twists and turns and thrillers. But I find, because I'm on social media so much, one of my biggest things, I'm also very like overachiever, hard worker, like never turning things off. That I have to read stuff that just kind of like is not what my life is. So Frida McFadden books are, she has a whole series of one called The Housemaid. It's really good. But
The Housemaid. Wait, I'm trying to, Frida?
You don't like gory though. If you don't like thrillers, you won't like it. I've had some friends that are like, how are you our friend? Because they're thrillers. So
yeah, I could never. I have a trouble with thrillers, but I'm sure there are women listening that will love to get that. I will link that too. What is it? Frida
McFadden.
McFadden. Okay.
I love the name.
Me too.
She's great. I mean, there's a ton of books, like tons of them, and they're just easy to read. So.
And you're right. Sometimes, especially if you have trouble turning it off, sometimes you just need a escape from your own reality, right?
Yeah.
I turn to rom-coms. You turn to thrillers.
I can go back and forth. I like rom-coms too.
Yeah. But no, that's great. I'll link that. That's something I've not heard that name. So yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Well, Lauren, I have to say again, thank you so much for joining us and for all the tips. You are just a ray of sunshine. It was so nice. We have to have you back again. Honestly, I feel like we could all go out for a glass of wine or a cup of coffee together or something.
So fun. I would love that.
Yeah.
Sephora. We could all go to Sephora.
Oh, that would be
I'd love to do that too.
I would love that. Definitely. Yes, I would love that. Okay, ladies, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Before we go into where you can find us, let's talk about where you can find Lauren, because that's super important too. Her social media, all of her handles are Lauren, Lauren Hale, Hale. And you're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok,
Facebook, YouTube, all of
and
them.
YouTube. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And then if you want to get to her website, she's at www.laurenhalebeauty.com. And I'm sure you can go there, and you've got resources and all kinds of things. I'm sure you can get the book there. We'll link the book also in the show notes. And in ours, you'll get the link from us too. But that being said, thanks again.
Thank you.
And make sure you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Our website is www.lifeafterkids.com. Ladies, have a great day and an even better week.